Hello, y'all. We are live. We have Briahna Joy Gray here as our special guest host, so I'm just going to go ahead and give it on to her.
Thank you for that, Afeni. I'm really honored and glad to be here today. I really appreciated your invitation. And it is, as someone who, is told often, and I fully agree that I am not an organizer, I, was hesitant to come and be in the space just because I didn't know exactly what I had to offer. But it's been such a privilege watching all of the speakers today and learning so much from people who have actually been doing this work and who have a lot of a firsthand experience and perspective to offer. I feel like in the context of doing my show, it's always an effort to bring people on and learn from them and learn from them and learn from them. And I'm really happy that you guys have managed to get so many people in over such a long period of time, which I know takes a lot of organizing work in and of itself. So I just want to start by thanking you all for doing this and giving you a big round of applause for what you've accomplished so far. I wish I had one of those soundboard buttons. But I know that each of you wanted to talk a little bit about the experiences that you've had and why you think doing this today is so important. So let's start with you, Afeni. I know you wanted to talk a little bit about why collective action matters and why it's important to be having conversations about what would be required to do a general strike, even if some of the infrastructure, as we all know, isn't necessarily in place at this moment.
Absolutely. I would just, like to emphasize that organizing is a privilege. It shouldn't be, but it is. It's something that you have to have the space for, you have to have time for, and your material needs need to be met in order for you to have that time to do that. So I would like to say that as we have this conversation, like always want to big up mutual aid. We have to meet each other's needs so we can organize. But as far as like the history of direct action goes, it's very important for us to remember like how important collective action is and how collective action is how we actually move forward as a society. We're not going to be able to get it through the ballot box as much as people all want to say that that's the case. No social movement has ever started in the halls of Congress or anybody's state legislator. Sorry, it's just not how it works. But movements have started in the streets with Black queer people, for example, with gay people during the ACT UP movement. Um, like AIDS wasn't even necessarily mentioned in so many different medical textbooks. The treatment for it, it was treated as something that was, so taboo. But because of these queer people, a lot of Black queer people that don't get their credit, but because of these queer people coming forward and making their voices heard, coming to dump ashes on the White House lawn because, direct action looks different. All these different things that they did actually turned into real structural changes that are that's saving lives today. And we still have, a long way to go with AIDS and everything else, but those are the movements that are important. And I just feel like people now, because we don't take the time to actually research our freedom fighters, because we don't actually take the time to actually research the social movements that give us things like, I don't know, free breakfast. Black Panthers did that. If it wasn't for the Black Panther Party doing free breakfast programs in a grassroots way every single morning in all of their communities, then we would not have nationalized free breakfast right now in America, period. And people, but we're not told these things, we're not taught these things, so we're constantly told that it's so impossible to get the things they were asking for, but it's not. We just have to believe in ourselves and believe in our collective power as activists, and as organizers. And if we are organizing a general strike, if you do have the platform to reach hundreds of thousands of people at once, then you should be using that to start to talk about what it looks like to build the infrastructures of a general strike. They might turn off the electricity on us, y'all. What does it look like to meet that problem? Seriously.
Yeah.
Like what does it look like to meet that problem? People are going to be in their houses, they're going to need resources. What does it look like to actually nationalize distribution to the places that are going to be participating in the general strike? What does the infrastructure for that look like? And if you're having that conversation over your large platform, that means that you're starting the conversation. People are starting to actually think about it in ways they haven't been thinking about it. And all of these things that we are talking about are all theories until we make them materialize into action.
Something that's become really clear to me over the year of talking to all kinds of folks, organizers like Jane McLevy, et cetera, is the extent to which labor education is so poor. It's not just that labor participation is low in this country, but as a result of fewer and fewer people having folks in their families or in their lives who participate in unions, the general knowledge about what's possible has declined as well, which is really dangerous and kind of a self-fulfilling prophecy. So it's another reason why having these conversations in anticipation of a moment is really important. It's like a cart horse situation, and sitting around waiting for conditions to be perfect before you have the conversation likely means that the conditions will never be perfect. I wanted to ask you a little bit about some of the comments that we heard coming out of the COP26 from Barack Obama, who seemed to almost tacitly admit that nothing is going to happen, that the government is not going to do anything, your elected officials aren't going to do anything unless there are active protests and direct action. I mean, I think he was doing it as a way to kind of like shirk responsibility, but it was almost as if he was saying, hey, make me do it. And to hear even Barack Obama, no friend to the left, saying those kinds of things, it felt like a subconscious admission that, yeah, we have to go a lot harder than people have been going before. And it's been heartening to see, especially in the climate context, the kind of direct action ramping up with the Maserati blocking and all of the stuff that we saw last week. What do you make of those kinds of sentiments coming out of the top, as it were?
AOC told me the same thing.
Mm.
AOC told me the same thing.
Mm.
Nothing is going to change. Electing people is not enough. You need to start social movements in the streets. AOC told me, she also told me not to focus on strategy. But,
What does
I
that
think that
mean?
was just a curveball. Exactly. I think that was just a curveball. So I don't take everything she says. Just want to be very clear. I don't take everything she said like, to complete heart. But one thing that did really stick with me was the fact that she literally said, like, unless you're going to put in the effort to do social movements and to build and organize yourself, like not much is going to change in the House of Representatives or in the Senate. And that's just the reality. We cannot expect a white supremacist country that was built on stolen land by stolen people, that has always been a white supremacist country, to magically one day these elected officials are going to just pass universal health care. They're going to nationalize the electricity and the gas, and we're all just going to live in a happy communist state. Like, that's just not going to happen
Yeah.
unless we force it.
Yeah. Well, Rome, I know, following on social media, that you do a lot of mutual aid work and some really heartening stuff all around the country. Can you tell people a little bit about what you've been up to, and why you think that kind of work is so important to the broader movement project?
I mean, what I do, I mask my communism with, tours, food and whatnot. But what I really do is I go out and I never go out with my hands empty. And this is what I use these tools to push my agenda, connect with people who want to learn more about this or already have teachings and about this. They just don't have the time or the right connections, I should say. So all around the country, I gather up probably like 10 people from each city that I go through, try to connect with them, build small armies without, I shouldn't say armies, but it is what it is. Build small armies in certain communities so we can be able to, give people the care that they need, or I can have people out there doing tour for the poor for me in their community. If they don't have the platform that I do to get the money for their communities, for their families or whatnot, like whatever it is. So I know that's just what I do personally. I know I can't show all of that on camera, and I would be an idiot if I did. You don't let your enemies know all of your moves. You just let them know, hey, I did this, and I'm going. You ain't gonna catch me. I'm out to the next city. So that's just what I do. Just try to plant little mustard seeds of communism all over this country, so people can stop trying to jump over, so they won't have to jump over Kyle Kalinske to get the Briahna Joy Gray. Yeah, you just gotta go out to the people instead of them looking for information, because we live under the Patriot Act. We know there's little to no information out there that's gonna be facts. You know what I'm saying? Like even Google is hiding information. So you have to really tell your people straight, face to face, relate with them, cry with them. Probably spend a night out in the streets if you have to. I done did it a couple of times being out here nowhere to stay, I just sleep in a tent. Because skip it. You be with the people. You got to really be with the people.
Rum, I'm realizing that I don't know that much about you and your background and how you came to start doing this work. Can you give people a little bit of backstory if they're also like me, kind of coming to you, knowing only your kind of online personality?
I mean, I really was like, I was a hood rat, just doing all types of bad things, but I always knew in my mind, like, all right, something got to change because I'm not gonna make it out here.
Where are you from?
Detroit. Yeah, so I always thought differently, but it was just I was a product of my environment, I should say. So I really had to take what I learned from Gangsters and Cyphers and just really put it to in politics. Go back to the Black Panthers that was around the neighborhood, learn from them and start from the bottom. Relearn everything. Relearn everything, but I'm just some hood rat. And I'm just trying to make the world better for everybody that's just like me and everybody that's different, But it starts in my community. I know that I do take care of my community a lot, but I feel like if we was to just stick in our communities, then you're just going to be stuck. If you really want communism, socialism to work, it has to be planted everywhere. You have to, take care of your plants.
And may I ask, what was your political evolution like? When did you realize that there was a political dimension to what you wanted to do for your community and, find the left, as it were, however you describe?
I mean, I'm not going to say I've always been left because I have been fooled by politicians before, like just by everybody else.
It's okay. We all voted for Obama. Oh, wait.
Yeah. I didn't get the vote. I didn't get the vote for him. And I ain't vote for him next time. But it was really like me just growing up and just looking like, okay, well, this person is obviously lying. This politician is obviously lying. You can't trust him. What is that? Okay, that's a libertarian. That's a Republican. That's a Democrat. Like, okay, I can't be none of them. And if I was to describe my me being on a political compass, so I just like, you know what? I'm just gonna be me. I'm just gonna be me, and whatever ideology comes up, and that I can agree with, and that's when I started looking into socialism. Then that's when I started looking at socialism, communism. I started doing work for some of the Black Panthers here in Detroit. But then I started doing work for DSA, which set me back.
In what ways?
A lot of ways. They didn't even want to go into Black neighborhoods to canvass.
What were those conversations like?
It was horrible. It was gaslighting, but that's
another. I mean, what was the rationale offered?
I mean, it was more like they'd go in Black communities but gentrify Black communities. You know what I'm saying? Like it's like half Black people there. It's a safe community. They're probably won't get robbed type. But I'm like, look, we got to deal with these people. These are the heart of Michigan. Detroit is the heart of Michigan. If we don't flip Detroit for Bernie, we don't have Michigan.
And that's what happened. Yeah. And I don't want to linger here too long, but I'm just curious, because I'm stuck in I feel like I'm literally stuck in a tower, COVID wise, and living alone and all, being in a city where I don't know a lot of people. And so I'm not interacting with folks as much as at least I did on the campaign trail. And I'm curious what those door-to-door interactions are like when you go into neighborhoods that aren't conventionally canvassed and knock on the door and tell them about lefty ideas, whether it's Bernie or whether it's a non-Bernie associated brand of communism or socialism. What are those conversations like, and how does the mutual aid effort potentially facilitate that kind of bridge?
I say it was harder to push socialism with Bernie as your lead.
Interesting.
Because, not only is you putting the face to it, you're putting the man to it, his problems, his background. You have real socialists out here. It's like, what? He's not a socialist. So it can be different. I say when I start, like, I still knock on doors to this day and just talk about union. Are you? I see one of my neighbors was he wear a vest a lot. I always ask him, are you in a union? You know what I'm saying? This and that, try to connect him with my cousin because I think they work for the same Chrysler plant, but he's just not union in their union. So I'm trying to just help people organize little, get their phone numbers so I can use them one day, I should say. But it was way easier just being out here, just being like, I'm a communist, I'm here to help, you know.
Do you think the labor tradition in Detroit? I'm thinking, my last partner was from Detroit, and his father worked on assembly line throwing windshields for a car company for years and years and years until he threw out his back and didn't get the kind of support that he would have liked, from the company. And I wonder if Detroit, because of the history of the Black Panthers and because of the deep labor tradition in the city, if you think there's potential there for more left organizing as compared to other places that you've canvassed and organized.
I mean, yeah. It's a lot of potential out here to do a lot, to actually pass a universal healthcare system. To we're working on drugs, mushrooms, cocaine, all of that. It's enough to do what we want. People just need to pay attention. But see, the problem is the problem is going to be with Detroit. Excuse me. Chrysler, GM, Ford. They got hospitals. They half of our people work for their companies and whatnot. So it's going to be very hard if they're not striking, like how we are going out and taking advantage of this time right now to teach and connect with union members and whatnot. We're not going to take advantage of this time and really get into these the Motor City, the people who run the Motor City heads. It's over for Detroit. Because these companies really, really control it. And if they are feeling like there's a lot of communities, there was a couple of communities that was getting money, that was getting rich without these people. All they would do is drive a freeway through your neighborhood. They would dead ass drive a freeway through your neighborhood. And it's just little things like that. Always teach people that work at plants, Chrysler, GM, Ford, whatever, the history of freeways and why GM got so much money in this and why they want us to be like this, why they gave us the nickname the Motor City. We didn't name it. We didn't name Detroit that. They gave us that name. They want us to be workers, not and we don't even own stocks in our companies. We get cancer, we don't own stocks. We get nothing. We die. So it's just teaching the basic history of those things, the racism in the workplace and how these people actually kept you in place, took away opportunities, took away good neighborhoods away from you to sit you in this neighborhood to make sure that you have nowhere else to go. You know what I'm saying? It took away the good schools so your kid will end up in a plant right next to you, right? Because that's what normally happens up in these cities.
Yeah, the depth of that, your point about not being paid in stock options, those kind of, that failure to link the fate of the company to the fate of the people in a way that disproportionately hurts Black workers. The level and the tiers, the redlining, the tiers of disadvantage that accrued are really
forget about like
mind-boggling.
somebody just you can buy stocks. I'm sorry, but what is the use of the stocks when capitalism crashes every 4 to 10 years, right?
Yeah.
And then what happens? They buy back stocks, right?
Yeah.
So your stocks become what?
Yeah, I mean, I'm thinking of a story. My old partner told me about his father at some point inventing like some kind of landing pad that prevent, some percentage of the windshields would kind of skitter off the assembly line and break. And it was like just a cost of operation that they would accrue. And he came up with some like landing pad that prevented that from happening. And they gave him like $20 or something. They gave him like $50 in their certificate, and they probably saved, he was reflecting on how much money the company saved over time. And how there is this like superficial valuation of a worker in the public discourse that doesn't translate materially at all. And it's really disappointing and disturbing. And I appreciate you unpacking some of that for us. I want to go to Sabby. I see you, Niko. Welcome.
What's up? How you guys doing?
Doing well. But I want to go to Sabby and ask you a little bit about some of these concrete steps for organizing, because as I was saying earlier, I think that a lot of folks hear the word organizing and, don't know where to start. they don't know what that means for them, particularly since most of us are no longer working in unionized workforces, and most of us, as I was saying before, also don't have exposure to what that's like, or even family members who can really speak to the process issue. So can you talk a little bit about how people should think about starting getting involved in organizing?
Absolutely. I can speak from it. I speak about it from direct action. I think that one of the first things you should do if you've never done this before is connect with someone who has done it before. That was my mistake the first time I tried to organize direct action, because they're going to know things about this that you may not know. I know, for instance, for me, I tried to blast the event all over social media. I thought that would be enough to get people to come out. It wasn't. So we didn't really have that many people come out. So I learned from that lesson. And then going forward, the next event organizing was the March for Medicare for All in Boston. And I worked closely with Kyle, who's actually running for Senate in Massachusetts now. I worked very closely with him on that. And along the way, some of the things that we've learned is that you need to find out, first of all, what date do you want to protest? Are you going to be able to do it on that date? Because different cities have different laws and rules around protesting. Do you need a permit? Can you protest in the location that you want to protest in? So these are things that you want to find out earlier on and not wait till like the week of or the week before to try to find out. In reference to even getting a permit, we got a little bit of runaround on that. One minute we were told to go to City Hall. We went to City Hall. They said, no, you have to go to Boston PD. Went to Boston PD, and Boston PD was like, nope, you don't get that here. So eventually we ended up getting the permit, but you have to give yourself time for that, and you have to be flexible. The other thing that I would say is definitely collaborate with someone that has some type of marketing communication skills so that they can get the word out, spread the message as much for you. Because I think the biggest thing on us is like we were trying to do everything ourselves. We were trying to get all the speakers for the events. We were trying to do the promotion for the event, and we were also streaming the event. So I streamed the event and I was an MC for the event. So in the long run, I think what we learned is that you really need to take some time to really plan this out. And then also be prepared for the fact that you may not be able to do everything that you intend to do. For example, our event took place at the Boston Common. You can protest at the Boston Common, but there's rules and regulations on what you can actually bring to that spot. So for example, we were not allowed to bring a microphone without a permit. So those are things that you need to find out. And you need to also make sure that someone's going to be in charge of getting, food and beverages for people, because depending on how long you're going to be out there, this was during the summer, it was hot. So Quaker Socialist, who's a friend of the show and is an activist here, she got a lot of those things for us. So it was really great to have people help, but definitely doing it all over again, I would have started a lot sooner.
It's very heartening and kind of inspiring to hear how much planning and work went into the Medicare for All strike, in contrast to the prevailing narratives on the internet. But I'll stay positive with this one. Niko, welcome.
What's up? Thanks for having me, guys.
I don't know how much you've caught of the conversation so far, but I'm curious about what brings you here today and what message you want to impart about what's been going on with this wave of strikes and kind of interest in organizing and movement activity in the country that is not necessarily unprecedented, but it definitely represents a spike of interest. What do you make of it?
I feel like a lot when people get desperate, they definitely are a little bit more inclined to get up off their butts and go out and get things done, rather than just perhaps wait until, oh, well, what's happening to them? Well, as long as it doesn't happen to me, I'm fine. I feel like we're at that point where it's happening to everybody in one form or another. And so a lot of people are a little bit more inclined to organize. And I would say, one of the key factors in organizing is literally just getting up to start it. I feel like a lot of people let the fear of potential obstacles, even like small obstacles, like what Sabby was referring to, keep them from just making that leap. But I can promise you, it does get easier the more practice you get. And the hardest thing to do is to start it. And don't let people dictate or try to dictate the legitimacy of you organizing based off whatever weird limited standards they put out there. I'm sure that you'll see not just with the General Strike Summit, but in anything you try to do, there's going to be someone to try and smear your effort. Someone's going to be upset with you for reaching out to people that they don't like. But you just got to, as long as you know that you're doing it for the right reasons, and that you're doing it for the greater good, just ignore them and push through. You can even make fun of them along the way. I find a lot of solace in that. But yeah, and yeah, so I mean, if everybody knows me, it knows I got involved with journalism through activism and organizing, and doing that helped me do this job a lot better because you get to also meet a lot of the people that you're fighting for when you're doing organizing on the ground. I feel like that's really important too, to keep perspective about what you're fighting for, so that it doesn't just become a vanity project, whatever you do. So, yeah.
Yeah. I'm curious, not to go too far down this rabbit hole, but I've been thinking a lot about the psychology behind some of the efforts to downplay or distract from certain organizing efforts. One of the things that I've encountered in the course of doing interviews is that if I ask somebody, what's next steps, what do we do, whether they are themselves an organizer, whether they are a politician, whether they are a journalist, the answer will be to organize. And I will say, awesome. Now, like, what do you recommend in particular? And oftentimes the follow-up will be to say, well, unit density is low, so we can't really, expect too much from organizing. I'm like, okay, cool. So what's the plan for that? And it ends up in this circular kind of self-defeating mode where it's not
don't
everyone,
do it because it's not
right?
enough support, but don't organize to get more support because there's not
Right.
enough support, right?
Right. And I don't think that everyone is doing it in bad faith, obviously, but I do think it's easy for people. Sometimes I think it's a kind of like unwillingness to look like a loser. Like sometimes I feel like the left loses so often that they preemptively undermine their own efforts, or like set expectations low so that they won't get called out for over promising or something like that. Like I was listening to a recent interview with some leftists whom I really like, who were like, well, there's the strikes, there's some new strikes, but it's not that much, and like it's not that big a deal. And I'm like, well, what are you doing? Let people be excited about something for a second.
The lack of, they never provide an alternative. One, I do think there's this fear also that if people like us begin to set a standard of, oh wow, they're not just talking about it, they're actually doing something about it and uplifting others who are doing things about it, and they get held to unrealistic standards. So an unrealistic standard by their standards, not by ours. But so they figure, oh, if I smear the event, if I smear the person, then maybe no one will be paying attention to the fact that I'm actually not doing shit for the causes that I'm supposedly advocating for. And so they're looking like they're avoiding accountability, basically, by smearing the event, instead of just being, man or woman enough to be like, actually, I just don't want to do anything. And if y'all start doing stuff, then people might expect me to start doing stuff. We can't have that. So
yeah, it makes me think a little bit about how in 2016, I like to say sometimes, before 2016, the word liberal didn't, send a shiver up my spine quite the same way that it does today. Like, we were all liberals. Like, there was the left and there was the right, and there were two camps, and it was what it was. And then for me, at least, Bernie showed up and said, oh, here's someone who, in a practical sense, is able to actually reflect my ideology that I never saw really in the public sphere. And there was now a public rift, whereas before it was just one that was in the back of my head. And I remember the reactions from my fellow liberals at the time, at work, etc., and how they seemed to be more angry at me than they were at conservatives. And I feel like there's a certain kind of similar psychological effect happening where if you perceive yourself to be left vanguard, perceive yourself to be doing not just your own personal best, but kind of the best that one can do in society, and someone manifests something to your left, or trying a little harder, or doing something more than you weren't doing, you can either say, oh, that's awesome, I want to move left and do that with them too. Or there's another psychological reaction that like experiences that as a kind of judgment and doubles down, and then has to find some way to justify why you're not doing that thing. And sometimes I think that where you can get a little bit in that weird competitive headspace on the left. And I would urge everyone to contemplate what it felt like as like a 2016 Bernie supporter to be told everything's not possible, and you're being crazy for wanting more, because that it feels very similar to me that what's happening, and sometimes at least in this online left space. I see you nodding, Sabby.
Yeah, I was going
I
to say, I
agree.
think a big part of it is some people feel like if it's not going to succeed, if they don't know for sure it's going to work, then they don't want to even try it because they don't want people to come back to them and say, see, I told you so. I told you what it wasn't going to work. But I like to remind people, if you go back to like the civil rights movement, there was no guarantee that was going to work either. And that
Yeah.
took many, many protests and many, many sit-ins. So you have to be
In
mindful of
decades.
the fact that, and exactly.
It didn't start in like 1960 and then it's like, oh, 1964, we're all done. Do you know what I mean? This is
Exactly.
a half century of
Exactly.
efforts. Yeah.
So it's for me, it's just like I think sometimes we may forget about that because I know like my generation, I didn't have to go through that. I didn't grow up going through the civil rights movement, but my grandparents did. And so they can tell me stories about about those times, about those moments and fighting for those things. And I think we need to get that spirit back in this country where people want to continue to fight, regardless if we know for sure it's going to work. We have to be a little bit more optimistic.
We have to really start. We got to see people organizing, fighting like they have no other choice, rather than well, what if we don't get enough? You know, what if enough people don't show up for us to take cool pictures for social media, so people think that we're doing something. Like it doesn't, it doesn't matter because if you're organizing and you're constantly organizing, you're giving people the space, then people will come to the space. I mean, I've seen it happen time and time again when it's a cause worthy of fighting, worth fighting for, then people will show up. And I feel like so many people just, like y'all, said, they just get constantly worried about, well, does it look like we were successful, rather than the real tangible gains of organizing and fighting over time. And so, that because of their desire to always worry about whether they're successful, it's probably just emblematic of how they carry themselves in every other aspect. This is why they get seemingly jealous and weird, and it manifests in weird ways, that they lie or smear events or people at events. But if you're fighting like there's no other choice because, well, a lot of people right now don't have another choice, then you know that it's going to be an uphill battle. You know that it's going to start with just a few people at first, but as people begin to recognize the commonality they have with your cause, more people will come.
Yeah. It takes, I mean, I remember feeling so kind of heartened and inspired going to the Force to Vote event in DC in January and really being taken aback by how people who I consider to be my ideological allies took that moment to kind of smear and attack. Dozens of people who came out in the cold to fight for something they believe in, something that I thought we all believed in just a few months before. And similarly, I was in Portland, Maine, when the Medicare for All march happened and went to that event, which was very small in Portland, Maine. But it was so nice to see people and commune with people and talk to people and feel like one isn't alone, even though the Bernie movement, which in some ways was this kind of aggregating, centralizing force that exposed the extent to which we were all having these shared life experiences and shared struggles, had gone away. And we were supposed to pretend it didn't exist because now we're like in Biden land. And it was so wonderful and so heartening and so like magical. And the idea of not wanting to be there or be embarrassed to be there and photo pictured there because it wasn't a big crowd seems to be so the antithesis of what we're supposed to be doing and what we're about. And so I don't say that to castigate anybody or to dig up old bad memories, but just for people to really reflect on and think of the feelings of solidarity that we had when we were in the context of this political movement together and an electoral movement together, and to really reflect on whether they were in it because they thought we were winning. I mean, they wanted to be a part of a winning team, or whether they were really in it because of their ideological commitments, because those should not have gone away. And I would like to see a resurgence of that kind of solidarity now more than ever, because conditions have worsened and there is the pall of like, everything's back to normal.
Could you imagine if everybody who said that there weren't going to be a lot of people there actually showed up? There would have been a lot of people.
Yeah. Yeah. And yeah. Go ahead, Afeni.
No, I was just saying that it just is wild to me that the fetus circular shit that you were talking about earlier. It's like, oh, there's not going to be a lot of people there. Well, there were kind of a lot of people there, and like if everybody else who said there weren't going to be a lot of people there showed up and told other people to show up with the platform that they had, there would have been a lot of people there. They were going out of their way to make sure that the event was unsuccessful and weren't even giving real reasons why. It's saying we have to make sure it's unsuccessful. Why? Because we don't think it'll be successful otherwise.
Right.
Like,
right.
I mean, as an activist and as an organizer, like, I began my journey in this fight just showing up. Like, that's all it really takes at the end of the day. And I feel like we do not put enough, valor in just showing up. That is step one to all of this. And I said it earlier and I'll say it again, if if electoral politics is your bag and that's where you feel like the revolution might happen for you, that's cool. If you agree with me ideologically, though, you need to stand in solidarity with all the people that don't want to do that and want to take direct action. You need to support those things the same way that you go out of your way to trash and to like criticize. If we're really organizing here and if we're on the same side, you fucking slide in our DM and you say, hey, here are the issues I see with this. Here are some resources that I feel like y'all should reach out to, because that's what organizing is. That's what coming to somebody in good faith is. And, I tweeted this shit yesterday. If you're going to criticize me, make sure you have a solution, because we are here to organize. We are not here. Like, I think it's just it's so disheartening that a lot of the things that we're asking for is going to take some type of social movement, especially in a white supremacist country that does not want to give people their human rights. In an economy that is ran on and based in slavery. Like, yes, it's going to be a little hard to get these things, but we need to put the belief in each other and stop disempowering our social movements by cutting them off at the knees before our opponents even have to. So it's like, it makes me think, are you actually a part of this movement? Are you a part of the opposing team? Whose side are you on? Because every single fucking 4 years, I can tell you, some of these people that be talking all this shit on the internet, they vote. So apparently they're still somewhat supporting your strategy, because some of these same people go out and vote. So that means that you need to show up. Because there are plenty of protests that I go to for lots of different causes that do not have good crowds, but you still see it posted on my page though. I still amplify it because people need to know that these things are still happening, that this momentum is still here, and that we need more people to join that. And that's the point. Principled positions, principled stances, principled movements are never popular at first.
But see, this is why I would say this is why I feel like a movement shouldn't be attached to a campaign. Because Bernie started this movement and got everyone fired up. And then when he suspended his campaign, it was like, I felt like half of those people were just like, well, let's just be happy we're getting Trump out. And then there were the rest of us that were like, no, what about this movement? So it just seemed like that just kind of went away for some people.
It felt like some folks were almost embarrassed to have thought Bernie would win. Like, it felt like this almost collective embarrassment. Like, oh, I actually had hope for a second. And so there was like this dramatic turn towards cynicism, right? Because it was almost like a shame that they had been trying, and it's cooler not to have tried to begin with. And they're like, oh God, I'll never make that mistake again. Sorry about the sirens. Sorry.
Well, so I can hear them too. So they must be right around.
But yeah, and I don't know what that is. I need the left not to be quite so insecure that it's going to have shame about what should be some really basic core ideological principles that are still so broadly shared. Those principles didn't go away. And I think the thing that Bernie did do successfully was expose, just simply, it's like, it was as if he got everybody in a room and said, close your eyes, and then asked people to raise their hand if they had experienced various things, shame, like just letting people know, and then open your eyes and see that everybody has experienced this. Everybody's experienced depression. Everybody's experienced insecurity about healthcare. Everybody's experienced fear that they're not going to be able to pay for education. Everybody's experienced all of these things. And then suddenly all of the stuff that we've been collectively dealing with in private, afraid, insecure, was out in the open. And now it seems like this lingering insecurity that's preventing people from wanting to continue to stay engaged isn't, oh, I'm embarrassed to tell people that I'm, healthcare insecure. It's, I'm embarrassed to think that there's anything to do about it.
Yep.
Which is almost more depressing.
I also think it's
But
kind
you
of
can't.
we have to realize that there are some people who just make money off of poor people struggling. Like that's their bread and butter. If there are no problems for them to write about, then there are no problems for them to make money off of by pretending that they care about those problems. It's sad, but this is I mean, hell, I think that we know that this is basically what the Democratic Party has done to the marginalized for decades now. But they exist on what people might identify as the actual left too. It may be a little bit they've gotten better at speaking the language, quote unquote, but that doesn't mean that their intentions are any truer or altruistic. So I think it's important to remember that there are some people out there whose job it is to make money off of people struggling. And you gotta be wary of those people. If the people are always talking about the problems and always condemning any solution presented to those problems, especially when those solutions are coming from people affected within those communities, you got to be very careful about legitimizing some of the criticisms that come from them when they're never really offering any solutions themselves.
Yeah, absolutely. And people, that's like no brand, no one single person. I don't think any movement should be centered around anything that could be ended at any point. Like revolution is forever. Like Fred Hampton said, like you can jail the revolutionary, but you cannot jail the revolution. We've lost that because we've gotten in such a place where like it's competitive and it's about branding and about who has the best idea and when and where. I can tell y'all right now, abolitionists that were fighting for the abolition of slavery, they had no idea what the new society would look like on the other side, especially a lot of those black folks that had to fight to educate themselves and free themselves from slavery. A lot of them had no idea what it would look like on the other side, but they fought for it though. And they, for the most part, got it. For the most part, we still building on that. But they didn't get deflated. There were many slave rebellions that did not work out. Like, let's be very clear. There have been various movements in this country that have not worked out. Let's be very clear. The anti-war movement, I mean, it worked for a little
Definitely
while.
not worked out. Shit. If there is one, I like to think there is one.
And can you imagine if it was Twitter back then and some like Quaker in New York like quote tweets some failed rebellion like LOL losers. I guess you didn't have enough of a turnout at the cotton gin or whatever. I mean, that's what it feels. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm going to be positive. Let me be positive. The point is that we should be calling people in. And, I'm willing to forgive and forget. I think that a lot of people are maybe just taking a good hard look right now and getting through their feelings. And it's been a tough year. I totally understand and get that. But I know that me personally, watching each of you in your capacities continue to kind of beat this drum helps me believe a better world is possible, even though a lot of the figures that I was working alongside with, even in the context of the Brady campaign, are the same ones that have like set these now like 20-year horizons and such for things that we really need exigently. And something I think about is the Debt Collective has reported that the White House's rationale for not canceling student debt is in part wanting to push the narrative that everything is okay. And extending student debt cancellation and extending these programs is evidence that the economic crisis persists, right? So they want to wrap everything up so that in 2022 they can say problems are solved. I think that is so cynical and despicable because it is part and parcel of a broader narrative that pretends that the exigency that we were in, frankly, even before the pandemic, but that was exacerbated during the pandemic, doesn't still persist. And it is very frustrating to feel like people have forgotten how bad things are for people in this country. And I really do want to say again how much I appreciate each of you continuing to highlight the reality of what it is to live in this late stage capitalist hellscape.
I feel like, man,
yeah, go ahead.
Another step to organizing and really just putting your first foot forward is stop listening to people like that. Stop letting people put fear in you. Stop letting people put doubt in you. Stop letting people tell you that you can't do better without, him or her or whoever it is. You can't be a fighter without being a professional. Like this is deeper than all of that. You don't need credentials to be a revolutionary. Nobody is going to stamp your card.
In
when you
fact,
hit the
I
streets.
would argue
You don't
that
punch in.
revolutionaries don't get credentialed.
Yeah.
No, but guys, let me ask you this, because I really struggle with this. When I started doing the podcast, I was even before that, like last summer, I was pretty tentative about having any opinions or thinking about anything, because I didn't want to be in a position as someone who was fairly new to politics, certainly brand spanking newborn baby new to organizing, to like open my big mouth and say things that weren't helpful and to claim authority and take up space. But over the course of a year, asking people, begging people to tell me what I'm getting wrong, to vet my ideas, like it has made me feel a little bit more confident weighing in every now and again. But I also do think there is some truth to people like you guys having experiences that I don't have. And I think since I sincerely want to defer to you. So what do you think that balance is between, people like me taking a back seat and listening to folks like you? And then there's another class of people who would say even folks like you aren't allowed to say or do or advise because you're not like the professional organizer who works for whether it's DSA or some union or something else that has the imprimatur of like legitimacy.
Like I'll be real. A lot of them fear revolution. They fear liberation because they know that them big houses, all that wealth would be grandfathered in. They know if we was to actually do something about what's going on, they won't live the life that, you know what I'm saying, that life that their parents gave them. You know what I'm saying? People speaking out against, we have socialists speaking out against defunding the police, abolishing the police. And then when I ask them, oh, so you got police family members. But that's not the reason why I say, all right, well, just say that, because it's a bias. You know what I'm saying? It's a bias with all these people. And so I say this. A lot of these people made themselves minorities in order to have a struggle. They made themselves.
What do you mean?
They made themselves socialists. Like a lot of these people are like, we are born socialists. We are born communists. We are born in these parties. Whether you was gang banging or whatever, you still race around these activists, Black Panthers, and whatever the hell it was. And even through gang banging, we were still taught how to take care of our community, even if we was doing something else to yours. You know what I'm saying? So
that's true.
Yeah, a lot of these people made themselves minorities in order to have a struggle, in order to have somebody say something about themselves on the internet. Oh, you're a dirty commie, or whatever it is.
They create the image of as if they're marginalized, so that it entitles them to speaking or influencing spaces of the actual marginalized.
Yeah. When actual commies come up and speak, now they are speaking against us. They are speaking against a Black owned, you know what I'm saying, news organization. Like, what the hell do y'all want? I thought this is what y'all wanted. Y'all wanted to play identity politics, but when it ain't no fun when the rabbit really gets the gun, right? Right. Mm-hmm. So when we really have a platform, people, they like, oh no, y'all have to take the back burner now. No, y'all did it. No. We're gonna do it our way, because every time they take over our language, they co-opt our movements. Now look what happened. Black Lives Matter. What happened? You know what I'm saying? They didn't dismantle the Black Panthers. They didn't dismantle our civil rights fighters. Killed our leaders. Chased them off. Chased them to Cuba, to South America. Like,
I'm curious what you guys make of this. Is maybe a little tangential, but to Rome's just point about the ability to co-opt movements. I mean, we did see what we saw last summer. And then we see, the whole Brittany Packnick doing Essence articles for financed by Glenn Fittich, talking about we have to redefine what wealth means.
Oh shit. You kind of broke up.
I think she froze. Okay.
Brie, we lost you.
Well, just real fast, while we wait for Brie to come back, I just wanted to go off of a point that I heard, like, kind of echoed by all of y'all. But I just want to remind everybody that elitism is a daughter of white supremacy. You telling people who is good enough and not good enough to organize, your white supremacist is still showing, and you still need to decolonize your mind. I can tell you that a lot of the hood niggas that I, be around and be out here serving in this community, I can tell y'all their life has radicalized them enough. They don't need to read Marx or Lenin. They don't need that. They need the language. They need to expand the language, and that's where organizers come in, because that's when we come in and we take what they're going through and we put words to that. We put an enemy to that. We put a target to that. You see what I'm saying? And I feel like because y'all are so hell bent on, again, branding it, making sure that you're on top, making sure that you maintain this power structure that continues to benefit you as white and or privileged people, depending on whether you have money in this situation or you're just a white person that's speaking out of turn a lot of the time. Whether or not that's your lane, know that every single time you tell somebody that their credentials are not high enough for them to be an organizer that should be listened to, you are reinforcing the system that we are fighting against, and you're not an ally to this movement. Period.
Full stop.
They know this. They know this. They know this, but they just hate that we are actually taking back the narrative, our own narrative. They hate it because they have made a living off of our pain, suffering from TYT and all of these people. They have made a living of our suffering. They show the police brutality, but raise all this money off of all these views and all these fans. They don't put these people on the ground. They don't teach them how to organize. They don't say, hey, maybe, I'm showing you all these videos of black people getting their head busted in so we can defund the police, so I can radicalize you to defund. But did they push that narrative? No, they just made money off of it.
Mm-hmm.
They just went on about their way.
Hey,
they're talking about other black people who's trying to take back that narrative. Like, no. We're not here to make. How much money y'all think we actually make off of this? How much money you think we really make?
Yeah, this is difficult for me because, there's been a lot of this big ideological fight, this divide with the left has been going on for almost a year now. And there have been a lot of accusations back and forth about people being bad faith actors. No doubt some of it is true. And I have always tried to stay away from that, like questioning people's motives, not because I don't privately sometimes question people's motives, but because there's no way to prove any of that. And I would like to think, there's plenty that's like there that I can say and do. Like I can point out people making just incorrect statements about forced to vote. I can, if there's an actual conflict of interest in terms of funding, I think that's all like very legitimate. But some of these people, I will confess, and people can say that I'm just kind of weak-spined about this. I consider them to be allies at some point, and I am genuinely confused and genuinely frustrated and disappointed as to why there's been a certain level of hostility. And I just want to make it clear that to the extent that people went awry and kind of got caught up or got kind of like distracted by personal issues with individuals, I would really hope, I sincerely hope that we can start to get past that by coming and having some conversations. I've been trying to have some people on the show. I had my beef out with Ryan Grimm privately, and then we had a version of it publicly because I felt it was important. There's not enough of us to be scrapping like this. Like there just aren't enough of us. And imagine the power we could have if we could unite across platforms and have some kind of coordinated messaging campaigns. Look what just happened with this infrastructure bill last week. We have all had our disappointments with the squad members, and I think it's frustrating that they seem to only force the vote when they know that the Democratic Party doesn't need their vote to actually pass a bill. But also they're getting heat for, drawing attention to the fact that the corporate Dems broke their promise about voting for both of these things together. And that is also true. And I would like a world where we could have some kind of coordinated messaging across these platforms that could show all of the squad, like all of the sincere progressives in Congress, that there could be some support for when they actually do something good and worthwhile. And the same with like the Afghanistan withdrawal. That was a moment where the left kind of did collectively decide, okay, Biden sucks, but this was a good thing to have done. And it felt powerful because we were the only people in the whole left media infrastructure that was backing up an anti-interventionist take. You know what I mean? And it's not that I'm trying to excuse any of the very frustrating, irritating, angry making, hair pulling out bullshit, sorry, that a lot of these folks have done over the course of the last year. But it's like, I don't know if I'm naive, but I'm really hopeful that some quotient, not all of them, I think some of them are too far gone, but some of them realize that it doesn't have to be this way. And I hope that moments like today in this effort help them to understand what a different kind of left media infrastructure could look like?
So
I think in order for
well, real quick, I have to go. I have to be somewhere for my RT stuff at 5. But I do want to say really quick from my personal experience, I have been like screaming at the top of my lungs. For everybody who like feels like, oh, it's no use, I've been like screaming at the top of my lungs, but about the fact that maybe been like 2 or 3 notable Black independent journalists since I've been doing this in 2016. Bree being one of those, maybe 3 at the time, and we've gone from that to, a Fred Hampton leftist network, majority Black people. There's Black faces and Black voices all over the space now, not only from the media side, but from the organizing side. And that was literally like inconceivable to me 2 or 3 years ago. Even though we kept talking about it, we kept pushing it, because we know that the state of any movement can really be determined by how many Black people are involved, and are respected and uplifted. And if you look at what's being done right now, and the movement arguably being led primarily by Black leftists, compared to where we were at 3 years ago, where couldn't even find Black women to speak in front of the camera because they were getting chastised and harassed, to similar degrees that Bree can probably talk about more. It just lets you know that, look, it doesn't always start with every movement. Well, no, I won't even say that. Bernie's movement didn't start where it ended up. I was there whenever it was like a 2% chance that he could win with a 4% margin of error. Like, everybody thought it was a joke that he could even have a chance to be as popular as he is right now. And look at where they ended up. Now, you can make an argument that in some ways it caused a lot of problems, but in a lot of ways it brought us all together and brought us all in front of you as well. And you look at what's happening with FHL, you see similar things happening. It's the same thing on the organizing side. Medicare for All didn't start as popular as as it's become. Now you have conservatives advocating for the same thing, albeit under a different name, but the same single payer process. So you got to start somewhere. You got to. And when you think the odds are not in your favor, you keep fighting, and you keep fighting for the right reasons. Sometimes the universe just, they pick favorites, and usually being on the right side eventually puts you in the universe's favor. So I just had to say that. Thanks for having me, guys.
Thanks, Niko.
I think that in order for all of us to come together in this space, I think to go off of what Niko said, I think there needs to be more respect for Black people in this space. And I think there needs to be more respect for women in this space. And I've seen it and I'm a Black woman, so I got the double whammy here, and I've seen it on both sides. I just feel like there is such a disrespect for especially Black women, like in this space. When I hear the way that some people speak, the way that Sam Cedar speaks to Black people in this space in such a condescending tone, to me, it just feels like not you personally, Bree, but he doesn't have enough respect for Black people in this space. And for a long time, this space has been dominated by white men. And I think sometimes, I don't think they do this intentionally, but sometimes I think they seem to have this ego that they know everything. They're the ones that people should listen to. And then you have some in this space that do have a large platform that are white men, and I'm seeing them use the N-word on their streams. So I think there needs to be a respect. Yeah, I think there needs to be a respect for Black people in this space, and women, and to go along with intersectionality, there needs to be a respect for Black women as well.
Yeah, my observation has been there have been a couple of debates or whatever that have happened where it feels like people have been almost upset with me because they didn't prepare. And I'm like, well, why didn't you prepare? I mean, with Force the Vote, it's like I had written an article, I had done 1 million podcast episodes, I tweeted up the wazoo about it. My positions, I wasn't coming up with anything new in the debate. Like, you should know what my arguments are by now. I read your stuff. I watched videos of you as I do to prepare for any discussion that I have with someone on the podcast or otherwise.
And don't forget, I remember when you had that march. I was trying to make it out there. I couldn't catch a plane that was cheap enough. I know a lot of people trying to make fun of it, but I bet Brad they can't do none of that shit. You know what I'm saying? They won't even have the balls to even thank you. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, that was some real nigga shit.
Well, I mean, it's just people. I mean, I was here. I'm here in DC, and people were flying from across the country, and putting their money and effort and time and exposing themselves to COVID over this. And I can't, hop in a car and go down the street. No, of course. But what's interesting to me about your point, Sabby, is it what the disrespect that I feel most is that there's kind of this like low expectations for what I'm going to say or do or how I'm going to present myself. And when you heard kind of Sam after our discussion say, "Oh, it's not fair. She's a Harvard lawyer." I was like, well, I was a Harvard lawyer before we talked, but even being a Harvard lawyer didn't seem to make you feel the incentive to prepare even a little bit to have a conversation with me. And that to me says something about how I'm being perceived. And that is, it's interesting. That's all I'll say. It's interesting to me that people seem to think that they can continue to think that they can come in raw, unprepared, and then get mad at me for being myself. And one last point, I've heard other people make this point, that there are other interlocutors on the left who are white and male, who don't require any credentialism and don't have to jump through any hoops and don't have to have any professional expertise for people to take them seriously. And I'm not a credentialist. I think that's great. I think it's great that you don't have to have some stupid degree or whatever to be taken seriously in the left. However, my observation has been that a lot more is required. You have to have some justification to listen to Black people in this way, or to respect the opinions of Black people in the same way, even if they have more real world organizing experience like the bunch of you all do. And that has been also pretty frustrating to watch. But on the positive side of things, again, I watch you guys. Like, I watch FHL, like I watch you, I see you, and the landscape has changed dramatically even in the last 5 years or so. And I really appreciate all of you, and I can feel the tide turning. And I think that's really a cause for optimism.
Yeah, it's very upsetting because, a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, I was a college kid that was watching TYT, that was watching Hassan Piker, that was watching Hassan Piker's show, Agitprop on TYT. People, real Hassan fans know, okay, what that was. Real Hassan fans know that Hassan fucking murdered Cenk in that fucking debate they did on TYT. Real Hassan fans know that. So it's very disheartening to come into this space where, on the outside, these people that you first come in contact with, the Sam Cedars, the Hassan Pikers, the TYTs, the Kyle Kalinskis, the people that you first come in contact with before you start to dig a little bit, you realize that all that solidarity messaging that they be preaching is not followed up by action. And I learned so much from these people, so much that I became an activist and an organizer myself. And then I come into this space as a Black woman, as a Black queer woman, and I realize, like, oh, wow, it's going to be a lot harder to organize because it literally seems like you are intentionally organizing against us. It seems like you're going out of your way, all the effort that you could be putting into supporting these social movements, all the effort that you could be putting into amplifying these things, amplifying these movements, amplifying the fact that DC has killed 9 Black men this year. You don't see any of those podcasts talking about any of that stuff. And before we didn't really see it, but we really don't see it now. And it's so frustrating because it's like, well, why are you cosplaying and then shitting on us for calling you out? I'm an abolitionist. I believe in accountability. If I'm calling you out and I'm holding you accountable and I'm coming to you and I'm saying, hey, like, that shit's not right, it's because I believe in good faith at that point in time that I'm coming to somebody that believes the same things that I do, and we're holding each other accountable because at the end of the day, we're trying to get to the same place. Then you come in contact with these people and they're a bunch of fucking douchebags. Like, to be honest, to be quite honest.
Well, look, I think that some of them are too far gone. I'm not going to name names, but some of them are too far gone. I think others, Kyle was on our side on Force the Vote. I obviously don't agree with everything that he says or everything anybody says, but I suspect that he would be willing to come and discuss and work through our differences, productively or otherwise. I just literally, as we were talking, Afeni, I said to myself, I don't want to be talking about people. I at least want to confront them head on at least one time. So I just DM'd Hassan Piker, and we'll see if he's willing to come and have a discussion about like substantively our differences, because the same way, if I can sit down and have a conversation with Andrew Sullivan, I surely should be able to have a conversation with Hassan Piker and some of these folks. I mean, Kyle has never been antagonistic in that way on the internet about this stuff, but
they got to see us one day anyway.
I'm sorry.
They got to see us one day anyway. So
yeah. So look, I really do want to do this in the spirit of unity, and I have the need to get some stuff off my chest and have a little catharsis too. So I appreciate you guys giving me the space to do that. But like, I really do want to end. I've got to run because I got this new show that I'm doing for the first time at 6. Everybody stay here. I don't know how much longer this is going, but everybody stay here to the end, and make sure you like the video and subscribe to the channel and all of that to support and promote the algorithm and all of that. I do have to go, but I really do want to say, I think there's possibility for healing. I do. Again, like we're talking about solidarity. We're talking about moving into all kind of communities that haven't historically been left. We're talking about dealing with a lot of these, poor and working class white voters in parts of the country. Like, we're dealing with a lot. And so certainly I believe that we can end some of this infighting on the left. Call me naive. If you want me to be the Boo Boo the Fool, I will play her until it's completely run its course. But I'm going to try. I'm going to try.
I feel like it's a place for everybody. I honestly feel like that, but don't try to overstep your boundaries. And one other thing I feel like, don't overstep your place, and don't try to run in a race that's not yours. But one thing I do feel like is a lot of these people need to move on from a lot of these people that they used to listen to, because there is no reason for you to be listening to a person like Kyle Kalinske, David Pakman, whoever for 10, 12 years, and you are to the left of them. Now it's time to move on and find. You might have to become your own leader, your own teacher, do your own thing, start your own podcast. Fuck the naysayers. But it's time to. I don't call them the old left. I call them left behind, because we doing things totally different here.
I mean, I think, and just to really bring it back to like the general strike thing, I can tell you right now that no general strike is going to work without people actually standing in solidarity and believing that it can. None of us know what the fuck the other side is going to look like. None of us have been a part of an action like that. But we have to trust each other. We have to believe each other. And that means we have to come to each other in good faith. I'm not about to sit up here and argue with somebody that is mischaracterizing me or devaluing the work that I have done because they refuse to actually do their research before they open their mouth and get on their Twitter fingers. You see what I'm saying? So it's like, I want to be able to have conversations with people, because a lot of these people, again, were a part of my radicalization. I've learned a lot from a lot of you. So for me, it low-key hurts my little soft feelings, because it's like, damn, like I just want to be able to organize. And I've been, put in a position where, I can organize with people that believe in the same things that I do. And you come across these other people that say it, and it's just like, dang, like just put your money where your mouth is, put your actions where your mouth is. If you want me to believe that you're a socialist, I want to see you in more marches. For real. Mm-hmm. I don't want you live streaming from Twitch playing your game all day. That shit's cool. But now let's live stream from some of these strikes that you keep talking about you're raising these funds for. Let's talk to some of those people, because those are the stories that we need to dispel the individual shame of poverty, so that we can actually start to have the conversation about what it looks like to stand against the enemy. And the enemy is the U.S. government, the people that are not giving us our money, that we are literally funding these folks. Okay? Like, that's what we need to be spending our time doing, organizing against them, not punching down on people that are just trying to get some damn change.
And we don't have to agree on everything. They don't have to agree with us on everything. But we do ask that they do respect, the fact that we are Black people, and sometimes they have bad takes on Black issues, and they refuse to back down from it. Yeah. Yeah. So it's one of those things, like, they don't know everything. And I wish they just understood that more, and sometimes listen to people who have experiences that they do not have.
Yeah. Well, hopefully, if anybody can make that happen, I mean, you guys are such a force now that you can't be ignored. And I'm really grateful for you all. I'm so sorry that I have to run. I hope this doesn't end the panel and discussion as a whole, I feel like there's a lot more that you guys all have to impart about your actual organizing experiences and how to, and potentially, I don't know where most people are tuning in from, but it might be good to talk about specific things that folks can support in the places you specifically three are. That's something that I would want to know about, being as someone who's in DC and always looking for ways to connect IRL. But I do have to run and get my life together for this new endeavor. But thank you all. Solidarity. I'm so grateful for each of you.
Thanks, Bree.
Thankful
I'm
for
gonna send
you.
you some stuff in your DMs for DC orgs.
Oh, okay, perfect. Thank you. I know I can count on you. All right, bye all.
See
Enjoy
you.
your day. Whew, man.
But yeah, you know.
Yeah, we gotta stop listening to these naysayers. But I know one thing is true, man. We gotta put faith back in each other. That's like, even from the internet to the streets, you gotta have faith in each other. You're gonna get played, you're gonna get scammed, but that's just the risk that you're gonna be having to be willing to take for your people. You know what I'm saying? If you believe in socialism, communism, whatever your isms are, even if you just don't want people to live bad, you just want people to have something, you're gonna have to give people a chance. And it's easy to point fingers. That's like the easy thing to do. You know what I'm saying? Like, even if an activist was out here telling you, like like a lot of people question what I do. A lot of people that's close to me, they question what I do. They're like, dang, you really everywhere now. Like, I was just like slap dabbing in the middle of red zone in Detroit. And now I'm doing things for a little bit everywhere, everybody that I can across America. A lot of people question my motives, but they know where my heart was at. They're like, damn, you just came up out of nowhere. To them, I came up because we still in the hood, we still poor. But that's just you just got to be loud about it. Be loud about it. Be proud about it, and have faith in your neighbor, man. Like, don't be scared to send off that $5. Don't be scared to send off your $10, whatever. When you help, your people will always come back full circle. You might not see it. It might not even happen to you. It might happen to your granddaughter, your grandson, whatever. But it always come back full circle. And this is the first step to organizing, is to trust people. Because I even trust, like, just people putting up their banking, a little bit of banking information is enough to get you doxxed and scammed and get people to rip you off and go on your bank account. I done had trouble like that multiple times, but I trust y'all enough to not put my stuff into some scammers' hands, and y'all trust me enough not to scam y'all out of y'all money and actually go do my damn job. Go push communism overall. Like, yes, the clothes and the food is good. Yes, that's good, but that's just the icing on the cake. That's just the icing on the cake. And this is a bakery. You know what I'm saying? Like, this ain't just one cake. This is a bakery that we have here. And there's gonna be mini cakes, you know what I'm saying, pies and all kind of shit. And it's gonna be I'm telling you right now, for you
making me hungry, Rome.
Talking about us, shit ain't all sweet. I'm kind of hungry though. I got to do something. But no, I'm for real though, because how the hell we gonna really get this done? How you gonna really, people talking about, oh, I'm with the armed revolution, and you can't even trust your brother with $5. You can't even trust to send your brother $5, but you're gonna arm yourself with them. You're gonna trust them with the gun? Come on, man. Come on, man. We got to get serious about each other. Get to know each other. Get to know each other. Like, I'm not talking about relationship wise. Stop meeting each other off of Twitter and having sex. Talk to each other. Get to know each other.
What in the world is going on?
That's a real thing.
What are you talking
bodily autonomy. Y'all grown. Go ahead, do y'all do. You see what I'm saying?
That's a real thing. I swear. But yeah, man, we gotta get deep about this, man. We just gotta I'm playing. No pun intended, but we gotta get serious about this, y'all, because we all we got. And it's enough. They just made you think that you need these credentials, you need these people, you need to be a professional in order to speak up and speak out, to fight for what's right. And I'm here to tell you that that's bullshit. Anybody can join a fight. Anybody. People join fights against you without credentials. So why can't you? You know what I'm saying? So that's all I'm saying.
I just want to take this moment to say, please follow and donate to my grassroots org. It's at Freedom Fighters DC on Instagram, at FFDC202. You know, just for some local help, period. We do mutual aid and stuff like that. But in the spirit of solidarity, unity, I don't want unity. I really don't. I want solidarity and I want equity. And just as important as it is for you to stand in solidarity with me, it's just as important as you to stand in urgency as well. And, you know, the reason why we're having this conversation about a general strike summit, the reason why we're having this conversation about being able to unlock your imagination and see a better world is because that's what it's genuinely going to take in order for this to happen. Like, we can't, we really can't have a revolution. We cannot have any type of social movement if we're automatically telling ourselves all the things that we cannot do, all the places that we cannot get to, all the things that are so impossible. We're like, how about we just continue to build the plane and try to get it up in the air? That's it. What have we learned from past movements? What can we take? What lessons can we take? Okay, how to apply those? What mistakes did they make? I can tell you a big mistake that they made was infighting and not being sure whether they wanted to stand in solidarity with each other. Oh, well, some people are going too crazy. The whole reason why the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee switched to the Student National Coordinating Committee is because they wasn't with that nonviolent shit. And people were shitting on them. And at the end of the day, we cannot sit up here and pretend like everything that we're going through is not extreme violence. The financial institutions of this country is violence. The way that we use our war powers and engage with other countries, that is violence. Our police beating people in the street and shooting down Black children, that is violence. 1 out of 3 Black men expecting to be incarcerated in this country, that is violence. It is violent. So you know what an equal form of violence would be to this system? By fucking stopping. Sitting your ass down and not participating in this goddamn system. Because we are the valuable part of this. And I think because people continuously celebritize politicians, they continuously celebritize these streamers and these people, don't celebritize them, celebritize the revolution. Popularize that. Popularize the idea that no matter how hard they try, they cannot stop us because we're not fucking stopping. We're going to continue to try to figure that out. Popularize that idea because it's not about all of us. It's not about all the people that can stream and talk. It's about every single person in this country that continues to contribute their labor and their tax dollars, because your labor is money. Don't forget. And your tax dollars to this system to make this global economy work. Hell no. Exploited workers, undocumented workers, Black workers, all workers need to sit our asses down until we actually get the things that we need. And that within itself is violence to this system. So at the end of the day, you don't want to sit up here and, tote an AK in the street. I mean, the right is doing it. So I would just say, know your enemy. But know that we can meet them with equal force. And that's hitting them in their pockets for real. That's hitting them there in their pockets for real. So we have to stand in solidarity with each other. We have to trust each other. And we have to have discussions about a collective bargaining agreement. I can tell electoralists, we've tried it your way. the marchers, the preachers, the nonviolent folks, we've tried it your way. Okay, we've tried it. We've given it a good, hard push. It's now time to turn up the heat. Because guess what? That's what they keep doing in our asses. They keep turning up the heat. Every single time a new crime bill drops, that's them turning up the heat and criminalizing dissent. Every single person that was a victim to the mass incarceration bills are political fucking prisoners. Don't get that shit twisted. Because it's about instilling fear. We cannot be fearful. You cannot continue to uphold a system that instills fear. The only thing we should be afraid of is continue to die slowly in this economy. That's the only thing we should be afraid of. The only thing we should be afraid of is the fact that the ocean was on fire, y'all. Mother Earth is going to get our asses, whether y'all want to admit that or not. So we've tried it your way. We've done all of that. Now it's time to turn up the heat. I don't say everybody don't have to agree with me, but God damn it, at least put some effort towards some shit that might work.
Rome, can you tell everybody where they can go to donate to Tour for the Poor?
Yeah, it's just go to Afeni's page and click on her. No, I'm playing. It's, you can go on my it's on my you can go on my Twitter page, Unholy Rome. I'm pretty sure you can find it somewhere. Just hashtag Tour for the Poor on Twitter. Because it's 3 different ways you can do it: PayPal, Cash App, and Venmo. Like, I don't use GoFundMe's or anything like that no more because they hold money from you for real for months. Yeah. So I got to make sure that money get to the people fast as I can, because tomorrow I will be on the streets reporting live from the ground from either the Kellogg's or John Deere, probably both of them if I can get to them. So yeah, we're gonna do what we can. But and I'm headed to Tennessee. That's what I meant to say. Damn, I'm sorry. I'm headed to Tennessee for Tour for the Poor. I do too much.
That's awesome. Also Quaker, I'm not sure if Quaker Socialist is in the chat, but Quaker Socialist also has a group. Let me see if I can pull it up real quick.
So yeah, there's like a website that they put together. It's like mutualaidhub.org or something like that. And I believe Independent Left had a part to do with that. I hope I'm not giving their credit. I'm giving credit to somebody that I didn't actually do it, but I'm pretty sure that's who did it. Where there's a bunch of different mutual aids that you can contribute to. Another mutual aid I'd really like to shout out is Hoochies of Houston. Please donate to my girls. They're Black sex workers that are doing mutual aid in their communities. They're showing up to direct actions. And, you know, they doing the damn thing. So please also follow them on Twitter. I don't know what their Twitter name is off the top of my head, but if you type in Hoochies of Houston, I'm pretty sure it'll come up pretty quickly. Also, another org that I really want to shout out is Heal the Homies, Heal the Homies. You see what I'm saying? Please donate to them as well, because they're raising $50,000 to start a community center out here in DC. There is real transformative work that is happening in the grassroots spaces, y'all, and we have to amplify these things. We have to talk about these things. We have to support these things. And I really hope that, you know, the left as a whole can get as organized as the right is, because I can tell y'all, I had a right-winger tweet at me yesterday and say, y'all need to learn from the winners because we're organized top down. And I was like, I can't refute that, because they continuously win. Even when the Democrats are in office, somehow, some way, the Republican Party is winning. Isn't that weird? Isn't that weird? It's because they're organized. The one-party system, they're organized, they're coordinated, they're working together. They're astroturfing these movements, and they're getting their base behind it. Why is our side not doing the same thing? Because we wouldn't even have to astroturf this movement. I promise you, motherfuckers don't want to be destitute. People will show up. If you give people an actual direction, an actual plan, people will show up. Sorry, go ahead, Sabby.
Oh, someone in the chat just said, what's the website? I just put the website in the chat again, you guys. It's mutualaidhub.org. In fact, I'll show you what it looks like real quick. Because this is how you can find mutual aid organizations in your area. So this is a national resource. Let me share my screen really quick. Okay, so you can see here's a map of the United States here. And then if you just hover over each one, you can see all the different mutual aids. So I'm just going to like zoom in a little bit because it's actually a little bit easier to see when you do it this way. And then like if I were to go to my state, for example, there's a lot of them here, like a lot. So some of these I was not even aware of, to be honest with you, but this is how you can find. So I'll just click on one right here, for example. Where did it go? Yeah. So this is how you can find and see which ones are in your area. And then if you click on link to form, see? Oh, I think it shared the other screen. Hold on. When you click on the form, I want to show you guys some of the requests that you'll be able to see here. And this doesn't mean that you have to donate money to these organizations. You can actually just like volunteer and help them. You can be a part of that. And so, for example, here's one right here: ability to host or store belongings for Harvard College low-income students. Believe it or not, that is the issue here, where people, a lot of times college students, they need to store like their stuff for whatever reason. When COVID happened, this was an issue. If there's any type of inclement weather, this can be an issue, and people can't afford storage units. So those can be pretty expensive monthly. And you'll see the request here. They're just asking, I just need someone to help store my stuff from this date to this date. So that's something that you can do. But definitely check out that website so you can see which ones are near you.
Absolutely. And, people need to realize that mutual aid comes in all different types of ways. Mutual aid was people giving carpool rides during the bus boycotts. That was mutual aid, baby. Like mutual aid is, again, the ACT UP movement. Some of the doctors setting up medical clinics that were specifically for gay and queer people and trans folks. That's mutual aid. The Black Panther Party and the Young Lords setting up acupuncture clinics all over Brooklyn and other urban cities to cure depression, to treat people that have drug addiction. That's all mutual aid. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And so when people have the material needs met, they have the capacity to organize. We have to be able to meet people's capacity. I mean, their material needs, so they can have the capacity to organize and to know that this is not their individual shame to hold, that this is a policy decision that their government is waging against them. Because right now we still live in a society where people are saying the labor shortage is because people are too lazy to work. They're still making it individualized. Is it because the people are too lazy, or is it because the minimum wage has not gone up since George Bush signed it in office? People keep giving that credit to Barack Obama. It came into effect in 2009, the same year he got inaugurated. But George Bush signed that into law. That was a long goddamn time ago.
Mm-hmm.
Wages have not kept up with inflation. People before the pandemic were a $400 emergency away from being completely destitute and out. We're watching people in record numbers get evicted. But the labor shortage is because people don't want to work? Are you joking? That is the conversation that we need to continue to have. These are the conversations that organize and radicalize people, because then they realize it's not all on them.
Yep. And I felt like, people beat themselves down. Like she said, anything is enough. Everything that we are doing is enough because I'm sorry, we have people that have powers above us that can get these things done. We put people in power to get these things done. And just for the simple fact that we have to do it, it's enough. So don't beat yourself up if all you can do is $5 and a bottle of water, because that can change somebody's mind. That can really change somebody's mind or save a life. Save a life, because you never know what somebody was thinking that day. They might lost all faith in humanity. So everything that you do, every step that you take, this is why I tell people not only talk about socialism, communism, You have to bleed it. You have to live by it, and you have to die by it. Because we are all born socialists. We do socialist things, and we teach socialist ways every day. But don't be afraid because you're looking at this person and they are doing more. Nobody is doing more than anyone because we all have a place and it counts. And you might think like like I have teachers coming out saying, oh, they appreciate everything I do. And I say the same thing, like, hold on, well shit, I think what you doing is more important. Oh no. Don't count yourself out. What you are doing is important. When you shaping minds, when you out there, everything counts. Don't count yourself out. That's all I really want to say. Because you gotta have faith. Not only do you need to have people to have faith in you guys, you gotta have faith in your damn self.
Mm-hmm.
You gotta have faith in your damn self that you're gonna really get this done. So don't worry yourself because somebody is popular. Somebody is this, somebody is that, or rich. Whatever it is. There's somebody's always gonna be something. You be you. And we're gonna get our shit together. And we're gonna come together and we're gonna fight the powers that been keeping us apart.
I want to mention something. Someone mentioned this in the chat and I lost it, but I saw what it said. Someone mentioned nonprofits, and I just want to say you have to be really careful with nonprofits because I'm going to share my screen and show you this. I used to think nonprofits were a good thing, but they're not. So here are some of the problems with nonprofits. Number one, the challenge of limited government funding for nonprofit organizations. So I know people that have been laid off from nonprofit organizations because of that reason, because they didn't have the government funding. Number two, nonprofit stable income and accurate budgeting issues. I don't think I need to say more with that one. Pressure on nonprofits to show results and strategic solutions. So again, like this is different from like mutual aid. Not running nonprofits like a business and ignoring the bottom line. So this is something I really want to drive home. Nonprofits are businesses. So let's just all like keep that in mind and remember that they still have to produce. They still have to produce results. That's important for people to know. And if you're one of those people where you're in a nonprofit and you don't care about the business part, I wish that would go away. You don't care about the business side of it. You just want to help people. Well, then that could actually be a problem for a nonprofit, because in order for nonprofits to be successful and continue, they have to operate like a business. So that's something I wanted to point out. Another problem is attracting and retaining the right talent over other sectors. That's a huge one. The problem of a significant increase in need for nonprofit services. 7, decreasing demand for nonprofits due to their increased success becoming an issue. In other words, nonprofits are popular, and it's almost like there's too many cooks in the kitchen, so to speak. So there's too many of them to that point, to be honest. Like that's actually kind of surprising to some people, but nonprofits are popping up all the time. Number 8, nonprofits challenge to keep their eye on the bottom line. Again, they keep driving home the business part of this. So it is still business. So you have to take that to heart. You have to keep that in mind. So that's why I tell people don't donate to nonprofits. Someone else just asked a question. So can we create a construction mutual aid Sabby? Like for construction, what do you mean?
I saw somebody saying put money, build a church. That is another way to avoid taxes and all that stuff, but I don't think we're gonna last too long with us low key pushing socialism like that.
That's true. And then also, Kyle mentioned nonprofit CEOs still make too much money. That's true. That is true.
Yeah.
Like the CEOs of nonprofits can make a lot of money, but the employees don't. They make very little.
That's why I could have made Tour for the Poor a nonprofit last year, but I'm looking at everything. I'm like, I'm telling you, you know, I'm just looking at it like, I don't know, maybe I'll do it, whatever, you know. But it just gives people like it's messed up because it gives people that relief. Like, okay, well, he's legit.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what makes me more legit than y'all just sending this shit straight to me? Like, what the fuck is the difference? You're still sending me, but I don't. Whatever. I whatever. It is what it is.
Oh, there it is.
We can actually. By construction, yeah. Yeah, we can make any construction, like we can make any mutual hate thing that we want. And you know what? If you was to like, if you know somebody who can get you like a little website together, a little app together, not even an app, that's a little bit too big. It's gonna cost some money. You know, a little website together, you know, some type of banking account. You can go out and have people go to gas stations where they fill up the trucks. Go to where they are actually fixing on your roads, your freeways and stuff like that. Go to the stores, go to the poor communities, go to the working class communities, and then get you a little book and write down names. So people will be like, hey, look, I'm starting a nonprofit for construction workers. Do you want to get down or do you want to contribute whenever we get this together? Blah, blah, blah. Whoa. Like, what are you trying to do? They're gonna be then no, because it's so many people. When like it depends on what area you are in. Like, is you in the middle, in the Midwest or whatever? Is construction really heavy in your city? Whatnot? Because people want to see it to believe it. You know, like they gotta their uncles, their dads gotta have the benefit from this. You know, their moms work at these construction sites, so yeah. It's that little shit like that, because that's what I really do. You know, I just disguise it with clothes and food, and I just connect with people, and I preach communism enough in their ear until they like, okay, yeah, I'm just gonna go out here. But yeah, we can build anything that we fucking want. We can do it for children. We can do it for whatever. Because when people see you out here in conditions like this, and times like this, and man. When people see you out here for the people, they will have no problem with showing you the same love that you're showing them. So get your ass out there. I'm sorry, Sabby.
I love this. John, I love this. I think I should start a computer literacy mutual aid. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Go to them colleges. Go to them colleges. Go to them goddamn, like, come on, man. Look, we all are product of our environments. We all are product of our environments. And if you feel like this is what best for you to do, we was either put in these environments or we was raised in them. We know how the fuck they work. We know how these people work. We know what they think. We know how to get them moving if we wanted to. We might not have the money, the resources to just say, hey, look at this shiny thing. Don't you want to help me with it? Like, no. Look at this idea. Don't you think we should be doing it? Don't you think we should put more into it? Hell yeah, they're gonna do it because that's their thing. You know what I'm saying? Like every time I go, like when I go in the hood, I ask people in the neighborhood, hey, you want to donate $10-$20 to me so I can get some clothes from from the Salvation Army for the homeless people? Oh yeah, I got you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Now we ain't gotta now Unc at the store ain't gotta have holes in his pants. He ain't holding up a 40 on a 40 waist. Bag of change and stuff like that. We can get him his coffee. You know what I'm saying? Give him enough money to catch the bus to get to the shelter on time.
Yeah. Free classes is a good idea, you guys. Like if you have a skill, if you know a skill or a trade that you can teach someone else for free, that's also like mutual aid. So that's something, that's why I said like mutual aid doesn't mean you have to just like give money to a mutual aid organization. These are things that you can do on your own. Like you guys can just like get a group of your friends together, get a group of people together. If some of you are musically inclined, I know some of you are really into music, you know how to play the guitar or piano, give somebody free piano lessons. Give somebody, you know how many kids in low income neighborhoods would eat that up, would love to have that? Because things like that are expensive. Those are just other ways that you can help.
Yeah. Any way is the best way. Every way is the best way. As long as we doing it for us. Don't be scared. Like, I know the floor may be yours and it's big. It might be a big floor, but shit.
Josh Davis brought up something. How about the workers that will get fired as a result of striking? So that's why I tell people everybody may not be able to strike, right? But there's other ways. But you can boycott. You can boycott consumerism. You can choose not to buy products from Amazon anymore, or at least for like a year. You can choose not to buy things from Walmart. Those are other ways you can get back. Black Friday. Keep your money in your pocket on Black Friday. It's one of the biggest consumer days in the world.
Somebody said, do we have a safety net for them? We are the safety net. You are the safety net. We fall on each other in bad times all the time. We ask our neighbors for sugar, for coffee, for ketchup. Why can't we ask for other help? Why can't we help them? Why can't we, like, come on now. We always been each other's safety nets. Where was the safety nets when we really needed them? When people who can actually give it to them neglected them. We have been surviving by our fucking fingertips on scraps for generations now. We have been our safety net. So whatever, like, look, money is whatever. We can trade money or whatever it is, but we can get back to some teaching each other how to grow their own food. That's a safety net. Maybe if you got some money, if you comfortable, you got a little money, maybe you can donate to an organization that's trying to buy up some land.
Yeah, JB said if you're good with cars, you can fix people's cars for free as mutual aid.
Yeah. That's definitely going to help the workers go out there and strike.
I think it also, I'm sorry to chime in here. I think it also speak to our communities are so disconnected that they don't even understand that that's mutual aid. You get what I'm saying? Like, our communities are so disconnected that we only think of helping as being able to give a lot of money, not even a little money, like only being able to give a lot of money to help. But I think that's what FHL, I think both of you would agree, FHL is trying to change that paradigm to say, no, let's re-educate ourselves. Let's unlearn that way and learn it the way of the Black Panthers, the way of, their mutual aid efforts. Whereas literally everybody's community, it's, oh, you can't pick up your child. Another way of mutual aid. You know how many single moms work, but they don't get off work at the time that school gets out? You can start a, mutual aid of, as long as parents would have to be fine with it. You're picking up kids, you're picking up neighborhood kids, helping them to get home. That's also mutual aid. So I just want people to think outside of the box of just giving money. Because remember, the ruling class has been siphoning from us. So we understand that everybody's low on cash. We get that. So think of it outside of the box. That's my 2 cents.
That's the only choice that we get. We gotta not only think outside of the box, but move outside of the box. Stop letting all your enemies know every move that you make. Cause like, even what I said, like, I'll let y'all I'll show y'all the good shit, but I'm not about to show y'all arguments that I have with people. You know what I mean? I'm not about to show the deep conversations that I have with people or how I really radicalize people. Like, that's something that you just gonna have to experience on your own. I'm pushing propaganda to you guys, to the people who's looking at communism and saying, hey, it might not be all bad. My job is just to push communism, to be honest. But it's not all good, but it's not all bad. It's not all bad. We just gotta be about it and be willing to have these deep conversations. And I walked through Ohio with my communist hat on and got nothing but compliments. Nothing but compliments. You know what I'm saying? Not being scared to live in what we believe. You know what I'm saying? So
absolutely,
fuck the naysayers, man. We're gonna do what we need to do.
Yeah, and to the point here, nope, when someone gets fired, they will need more than just money. Here's the thing, guys, your job is not promised to you,
Right.
regardless if you strike or not. I could go to work tomorrow, well, Monday, and I could get fired for whatever reason because I live in an at-will employment state. They don't have to have a reason to let you go. So that's something to keep in mind. I just want everybody to understand that you could get fired tomorrow.
Right. I wanted to come on it because I just this particular topic I wanted to chime in on because as we're seeing, I think we're all seeing that mutual aid is really going to be the way we're going to be moving forward. So I wanted to chime in on that. But I am going to be preparing for the next hour. Just wanted to give it a shout out. Disability rights advocates or disability right activists will be on. Her name is Michelle, Green Party member, just coming on, just telling us about the top issues in the disability community. So make sure you stay tuned for that. Thanks for letting me shout that out, guys. I'm going to pop back out and good luck with the rest of the discussion. Lots of great comments. I mean, I just can't believe we're just that number of people watching is not going down. It's like just staying there. You don't want to see the previous one. It's like it's already added like 900 views since we stopped doing it. So this is great that people are watching.
This is what they tried to stop. They tried to stop motherfuckers from really listening. You know how many workers are actually listening to this? How many comments we had got in just our comment section talking about I'm at work.
Me too.
This is good. Just imagine being able to listen to this. You just got your headphones on, you got it up on YouTube on Rockfin, and you're just listening to this. Getting radicalized while you're at the place you should be radicalizing against. It's a beautiful thing. The struggle is beautiful. The revolution is beautiful. So I'm gonna check out. Thank you for having me. I'll see you guys, guys and gal, later on.
Cool. Yeah, it's I was listening to this when I was at work, you guys, and I actually left work early today because I had comp time. But I was listening to this with my headphones on in one ear. And I was just like, oh my God, I'm just sitting up there typing and I'm like, because the one this morning with Case Study QB.
Yeah.
Oh man, that was good.
Yep. Yeah. It was some nice conversations. Actually, this one, I watched this one again. Yeah. With the fuck is his name? I don't know if he's Yeah. But yeah, it was some good conversations, and for us to be 6 months old and to be growing, still connecting people, you know what I'm saying? To be connecting people on a higher, on a bigger level, even if it ain't the biggest level, even if we ain't getting millions or hundreds of thousands of views right now, it do feel good to give people a platform, like we ain't got the biggest platform, but nigga, there you go, like so yeah, even like when I call when I made that call about you, I was like, hey, I was talking to you like, look, man, your show kind of doing better than ours, we're gonna catch up. But we need to work together, Sabby. I need you, and I did need you. And time proved me right overall. That you was one of the best additions to for the Leftist show. I probably watch your show more than everybody, so don't tell nobody. They're not gonna watch this part of the show.
No, I still remember when I got that call. I got a text message or a DM. I think it was from RJ saying, "Hey, can you meet?" And I was like, "Sure."
Yeah,
and it was like late at night too. I didn't even ask what it was about.
Yeah, because I wanted you. I was high as hell. I was like, we got to get Sabby before somebody else get her. All right, so like we can't offer her too much, offer her something, and blah blah blah. But they was like, okay, if you want Sabby, we want Meg. So that was the thing. They got I got you, and RJ and Jackie got Meg. But it worked out, But I'm just happy to still be here with you, man. We know everybody ain't gonna make it up the mountain. We're gonna see new faces up on the top of the motherfucker, but Yeah, I'm glad to be climbing this motherfucker with you.
Yeah, me too, Rome. I feel like we all like learn a lot from each other. You know.
Yeah, definitely. Cause man, I'll be learning how to control my anger, how to watch myself, and like, okay, let me see how Sabby do this shit. Cause I know we was just cussing niggas out on Twitter. Now she's screaming. How the hell she just like, hee. That's fuck you niggas.
I laugh at a lot of this stuff.
Yeah.
Sometimes you just gotta sit back and just laugh because it's just some of these takes. I'm like, they know they're being ridiculous.
Yeah, they ain't got nothing else because if they was to sit here and say, "Oh yeah, well I voted for Biden, but these guys aren't leftists," hold on, nigga, you voted for Biden. You might as well call yourself a moderate, conservative, whatever the fuck. Come on, man. Like Nick said earlier, you have no right to try to gatekeep when you took up for these people who's funding the Iron Dome. You know what I'm saying? People who's whatever, man. Y'all know the talking points. Y'all know the fucking talk. Y'all know the countries that we bombing. We got sanctions on. Y'all know it. I don't need to say it. But there's so much shit going on. So much shit. And it starts and stops here. That's the bad part. And a lot of these people know it starts and stops here. So we have to get our stuff together in order to actually stop the bombing, stop the killing, stop the imperialism, stop this racism, stop the 800 military bases all across the world, put an end to them, I should say. It starts and stops here. You don't like what's going on in Palestine? It starts and stops here. And if we don't organize with each other, if we don't really get each other, if we don't get this right, man, we ain't never get it right. If we don't get this right as millennials, Generation X, if we don't get this right, then we can't even think about handing a baton to the Zoomers.
We the last ones
because we don't even have a grip on it yet. We still running, and how are you going to hand that off to them? So it's a lot of it's a lot of shit that we have to get together ourselves, and that means mutual aid. That means teaching one another, not being scared of each other. You know, just talk to each other, build with each other, grow with each other, listen, learn, and maybe you will love. Maybe you will learn to love. And get out of your echo chamber. It's easy to be in an echo chamber where everybody's sucking your dick, everybody agreeing with you. Yes. And then what? Then you go into the real world and see, holy fuck, I was wrong. Now you're mad at the real world and you're using your echo chamber to silence people. It's not. It's not. So it's not how we do it. But our time is almost up.
Yep.
Sabby, got something to say?
Yeah, guys. All right. I'll be back on at 7 o'clock with